Hey, Terri Gillespie here, and welcome to Author Highlight with Terri and Author Highlight with giveaways as well. And I'm so excited this week or this month that we are featuring Gabrielle Meyer, not Gabrielle, Gabrielle Meyer. And I am so excited to get to know her better. And I'm really excited for you to get to know her. And she's hanging out in the background, waiting for me to finish up my housekeeping. And that housekeeping is just remind you to like, comment, and share this video, because when you do that, all those algorithms that go along in the background of YouTube will take this video and elevate it up into the YouTube food chain so that everybody can see Gabrielle's beautiful face and her incredible books. And we're going to be talking more about that. Plus, if you subscribe, it does even more. And it also means that you could win a really great giveaway. And we're going to talk about that more. So enough of the housekeeping. Now let's talk to Gabrielle Meyer. Hi, Gabe.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. So one of the great ways to get to know an author is, of course, to go to their website, but it's also to read their little bio. And I read Gabe's bio, and it was like, man, this totally does not capture everything that this woman does. But I'm going to go ahead and read it. Gabrielle Meyer has worked for state and local historical societies and loves writing fiction that's inspired by real people, places, and events. She currently resides along the banks of the Mississippi River in central Minnesota with her husband and 4 children. And I actually used to run barges. I used to negotiate for barge freight and run freight on the inland waterways. And the Mississippi area that you're located is the upper Mississippi. So
we're actually about 100 miles south of the headwaters, which are at Lake Itasca. So we're at the very upper. And it is actually so narrow where I live. I'm actually looking at the river right now. My husband, we have good friends that live across the river, and my husband will hit golf balls into their yard. That's how close. And he's a pretty good golfer, but it's that narrow here. We can shout across at each other. Yeah,
it's pretty cool. Yeah, we used to live on the Missouri River, but you couldn't do that on the Missouri River where we were. So by day, Gabe is a busy homeschool mom, and by night she pens fiction and nonfiction filled with hope. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how much fiction that you write a little bit later. Now, When the Day Comes is her debut novel with Bethany House Publishers, but Gabe has actually written a lot more books.
Yeah. Actually, this book is my 25th published book.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! In how long a period of time?
7 years. So, the last couple of years I've had about 6 releases a year. The first few years I did a lot of novellas, so that was a little bit different. But so I usually do about 6. I write for Love Inspired, Guideposts, and now Bethany House, and have some Barber as well.
Now, do you know Lauren Blount?
I know who she is. Yeah.
Yeah, she's in our local ACFW chapter, and she's the same way. She's constantly writing. She'll have 3 or 4 books a year, which isn't crazy. So the long and the short of it is that you are one busy lady. So how can readers and our viewers stay in touch with you?
The best way is through my website, gabriellemeyer.com, and all of my links are there for social media. I spend far too much time on Facebook, and that's probably my favorite. I don't know. My children, I have teenage daughters that are 17 and 15, and they claim it's for our age group, and
For
so
old
they,
people. Yeah.
yeah, they appeal to us. So Facebook, Instagram, but I also have a newsletter that I send out quarterly, and
Okay.
I try not to bombard readers with too much. It's actually more of like a mini magazine. I have a few different features in there. One of them is I have an ancestor corner. I have amazing
Ooh.
ancestors. Many of my mom's ancestors actually came over during the Great Puritan Migration between 1620 and 1640. And so my history is populated with a lot of amazing colonial Puritan ancestors. So I talk a lot about them in my newsletter.
That's cool. Yeah, my mom is a DAR. So, yeah, and she had, it was said that she had ancestors that were on the Mayflower and she had ancestors on the shore meeting them.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually, my mom had always said that we had Mayflower ancestors. I have yet to find them. We actually had ancestors on the Hopewell, which had to turn around.
Oh,
Speedwell or Hopewell. One of them. There was two that left together. I can't remember if it's Speedwell or Hopewell at the moment. But anyway, they had to turn around, and then they came a year later. So they missed that first Thanksgiving by just a couple of months. But
aw.
lots of other. One of our kind of our claim to fame is that we had an ancestor on the first ship that came to Jamestown, Virginia in 1607. So that, that's even before the
Cool.
Pilgrims. So yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I know it's so interesting. So,
Yeah, that's my newsletter.
well,
We could just go off and talk about lots of stuff today.
yay. So the blog interview has some really cool information that we're not covering in this interview. And there's one paragraph in particular that I held my breath through it until the very last sentence. And I exhaled very much in relief. So if you want to know what that paragraph was about, you'll have to go over to the blog interview. And of course, that link is down below in the description section. But and also there's a link down below for my video review, which was a 5-star review of When the Day Comes, which I absolutely love. Now, I love time slip stories, but you kind of took it to the next level with the, give me the word, Gabe.
Well, it's a time slip, time travel, and dual timeline is, yeah.
Yeah. So that just was absolutely fascinating. So
I've had a lot of the early reviews have been saying that they don't really know what genre to put it in because it's also historical. And so some people are saying that it's kind of a new subgenre. I'm like,
yeah,
okay, I'm happy with that.
it's almost like historical romance speculative. So which is really cool because you're pulling in all sorts of different reader demographics, which is kind of cool actually. But I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So I thought that it might be kind of fun for our readers, our viewers, to listen to an excerpt from the book. Would you be willing to do that?
Definitely. So here's the book, When the Day Comes. It's actually a time crossing novel, what I call it. It's about a young woman who is born with a gift. She lives in 1774 colonial Williamsburg, and there she is. And when she goes to sleep, she wakes up in 1914 New York City. And so back and forth she goes every day without any time passing while she's gone. And on her 21st birthday, she has to choose which of those lives she wants to keep and which one she will forfeit forever. So lots at stake at the beginning. You think you know what she's going to choose, and then a series of events takes place and kind of makes it a lot more difficult for her. So starts out in Williamsburg, Virginia, May 5th, 1774. For as long as I could remember, my mama had told me that my life was a gift. But at the age of 19, I had yet to see how this life I was living, or rather the lives I was living, could be anything other than a burden. Libby, my younger sister Rebecca, slammed open the door to the office where Mama and I were working on the weekly edition of the Virginia Gazette. It said horrid Mr. Jennings and the lawyer, Mr. Randolph. She was breathless and her cheeks were red from the heat. She pointed at the window. They're coming this way. They'll be here any second. I left the article I had been editing and went to the window. Through the waving glass, the detestable old merchant was limping with purpose toward our home, his dirty wig askew and his cane digging into the hard-packed soil on Duke of Gloucester Street. Beside him was the formidable Mr. John Randolph, lawyer to the governor and one of the most ruthless men in Williamsburg. Mama fixed Rebecca's white cap, then calmly laid her hands on Rebecca's thin shoulders. Did you speak to them? Nay. Rebecca shook her head, and for the first time, I saw that she was trembling. I started to run the moment I saw them. I quickly opened my top desk drawer and pulled out the small drawstring bag that I kept hidden in the compartment. There weren't nearly enough coins to purchase the weekly necessities for our household of 8, let alone pay off our insurmountable debt. Mr. Jennings was not the only person we were indebted to after Papa's death. Mayhap we can stall him, Mama said to me, her green eyes revealing the depth of her disquiet, though her voice was steady. Tell him about the public printing contract we're hoping to obtain. We've put him off the last 2 times. I counted out the meager coins, hoping and praying it would appease the miser for a little longer. I doubt he'll listen to our plea. What will he do, Libby? Rebecca's large brown eyes filled with worry as she clenched the fabric of her too small gown. I put my hand under her chin. Do not worry. I forced myself to smile, trying to banish her fears. Mama and I will take care of this matter. Mistress Conant, the men entered the front hall, one of them calling out to us. We've come about the debt. Though Mama was only 41, she had aged a great deal during Papa's illness. The weight of the debt and the responsibilities of supporting our family pressed upon her as if she were carrying a physical burden. I put my hand on her shoulder, wishing I could ease her cares. This is my debt as well, I said. I will speak to Mr. Jennings. I left the office before Mama could protest and greeted the unwelcome visitors. Good day, I said to them. How may I help you? I'd like to speak to your mother. Mr. Jennings lifted his cane with purpose. If this is business concerning the printing shop, you may speak to me. I motioned for the men to enter the large sitting room across the hall. Mama quietly joined us, closing the office door behind her to keep Rebecca out of sight. We will both speak to you, she said in her gentle way. The men moved into the sitting room, taking off their tricorn hats as they turned to us. I will curtail the formalities, Mr. Jennings said. I brought my lawyer to show you I am serious since you have ignored my last 2 attempts to collect the debt you owe. We have not ignored you, Mr. Jennings. Mama's patient voice never wavered. She clasped her hands in front of her apron. We simply do not have the money available. My husband was sick for so many years. That is not my concern. Mr. Jennings pointed his cane at her. He purchased printing supplies from me on credit for years, always making an excuse about his ill health. We needed those supplies to operate our business, I said, in defense of my father who had died just 6 months ago. If you do not have the money, Mr. Jennings said, appearing not to care about our plight, then I will give you 2 options, which my lawyer is here to witness today. You can either be thrown into the public jail until the sum is collected, or his eyes glowed with intent as he lowered his cane to the floor. You can indenture your little moppet to me, the one with the dark hair. Revulsion climbed my throat as I saw the look in his eyes. Never, I said, clenching my hands together. We would never indenture Rebecca to you or anyone else. Then it will be the jail for your mother. A shudder ran down my spine at the thought of the public jail. It was a rat-infested eyesore behind the Capitol building, not to mention an embarrassment to anyone cast in shackles there. Mama stepped forward, putting her hand on my arm. We are waiting the Burgesses' decision this very day. If we're awarded the public printing contract, we will have your payment for you post-haste. You have my word. Your word, Mr. Jennings spat. What good is a word of a woman? I wanted to lash out at his comment, but Mama's grip on my arm tightened and I held my tongue. I had little sway with him or anyone else in Williamsburg simply because I was a woman. Even when Papa had been too ill to run the press and I had taken over, very few people would deal with me. Since his death, it had become even worse. "You've been warned," Mr. Randolph said, handing over a piece of paper. "If you do not pay what is owed by the end of this month, you will either face debtor's prison or be forced to indenture one of your servants or one of your household to Mr. Jennings for the sum owed." Starts off with a bang.
Wow. Yeah. You can just imagine that creepy guy, old guy. I mean, the wig is skewed and dirty and everything, and he's oogling her little sister. Ugh. Yuck. Okay. Yeah. I noticed that Libby, she's a very strong female character, and for 1774, that's a bit unusual. Now, her other timeline is 1914, and I noticed she wasn't quite as
forceful, maybe.
Yeah, she just yeah.
So when I set out to write this story, most dual time novels have two protagonists, one in one time period and one in the other. And so they can be very different. But I knew for Libby, she needed to be the same in both time periods. She was the same person. She has two physical bodies that live in both, 1774 and 1914, but she has one conscious mind that goes between them. And so she is who God created her to be, with her character, qualities and flaws and all sorts of things. But in 1774, she and her mother are the first public printers in Virginia, and they're inspired by a real woman named Clementina Rind, who was a public printer. And so I needed her to be, assertive and strong, but not outside of how culturally women would have, conducted themselves. But then in 1914, she's the only child of a very wealthy shipping magnate and his social climbing wife, who they don't even know that Libby is a time crosser in that time period. And so her mother in that time period is a very, very strong personality and very forceful. And so Libby knew early on in her life that she couldn't fight that in her mother. So she has to still be a strong woman and a strong character, but she has to do it within the confines of her social expectations and her responsibilities to her family there. So I wanted her to be the same person, but also, different. And I mean, that's true in all of our lives. I mean, I might treat one person kind, of course, but I might be a little bit more assertive in one situation and maybe a little bit less so in another, So that was the challenge, but also a lot of fun to try to imagine how I would be living in two different time periods.
It's fascinating. One of the great things, the great hopes of all authors is that we write characters that stick with our readers, and that our readers are thinking about and wondering how, what are they doing today, even though they read the book a month ago. So I found myself doing that. I found myself just wondering, how did she navigate all of that? It would have taken an incredible amount of intelligence, and her faith had so much bearing in her being able to live in this very bizarre but fascinating lifestyle.
A lot of the early reviews I'm getting, and a lot of comments I'm getting from people I know personally who are reading this book, is that the book is causing them to think deeply about all of these issues. And actually, I was just talking to my mom today about a family situation that's going on, and she's reading my book right now. My mom is. She knows a few of the spoilers in it, but she's still really enjoying it. And she said to me on the phone, she said, "I just wish that this person could hear what Libby's mom has to say." And and I listened to my mom and I'm like, "Well, Mom, that's me, right?" I actually wrote that. but I loved it. And it's really cool too, because so much of my mom is in Mama's character, Libby's mom. So I thought that was sweet that
Oh,
she saw
yeah.
that. Yeah. So it's fun to know. And it's, yeah, I love hearing what people are thinking about this character who really only lived in my mind and heart for over a year before the book released.
Wow, that's not a lot of percolation time. That's
No.
pretty amazing.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I can write quickly, but I have to percolate for a couple of years before I can do that. So that's really amazing, Gabriel. Very amazing. Well, kind of along those lines, the author highlight blog, which is on my website, has other questions that I asked you. And but for these types of interviews, these video interviews, I like asking kind of fun questions. One of the questions I asked is, do you have a superpower, and what is that superpower?
Well, I definitely, my superpower would be that I write really fast. I have, it's now May, and I'm working on my fourth novel for this year already. So it's, it's a lot. But I am a super plotter. Before I even sit down to write a book, I have it plotted out scene by scene. I know all of my characters inside and out. I do a lot of character work before I sit down to write. So by the time I actually sit down to write, I can write it really fast. I usually write about 3,000 words a day. That's my goal. And that's about a chapter. When I wrote When the Day Comes, I actually had COVID when I started it. And it only took me 4 weeks to write the first draft of this. So, and I don't say that to brag, because it's just who God made me to be. I write really fast. So that would definitely be my superpower. And it allows me then to really focus when I do have my time, because I do homeschool my children, my 2 younger boys. My older girls do online, but my 2 younger boys still, we homeschool. So usually we get down about noon, and then I write from noon to 3, and then we're off and running for the rest of the day. So
So,
yeah.
viewers, you just got that right. 3,000 words in 3 hours. So, just wanted you to take note of that. So, by the way, I looked up on Wiki Fandom about superpowers and if there was anything on speed reading, and there is actually something called enhanced writing, and it's under literary and art manipulation. So you do have a superpower, ma'am. You have a superpower.
Yeah.
Well, and by the way, I will put the link down below in the description section. So, which is kind of fun. I do have to ask, since you write historical fiction, do you have any funny stories about that?
Yeah. So my second novel that I wrote, I I had a carriage that got stuck in the mud, and the hero is going to be all heroic, and he's going to go and push it out of the mud for the heroine. And my critique partners actually caught something, that when the carriage is stuck and he's pushing it, I have the back wheels spinning as they would do on a modern vehicle. And one of my critique partners said that would not happen on a carriage, because there's no motor powering those wheels. So it just was kind of one of those
Ah,
funny, yeah, I did not catch that on my own. I thought, you're right. So that was one. The other one, it was actually in When the Day Comes. I had a book. I can't remember the name of it, but it was written during the colonial period, and it's recipes, and it's phenomenal to read. It's amazing what they used to be able to do. But they had a recipe in there for waffles. And so in one of the scenes, I have them eating waffles. And then I went to Colonial Williamsburg in the fall with my family, and I went into the kitchen and I asked them at Colonial Williamsburg if I could see this waffle maker. And the gentleman there said, well, they didn't have waffles like we have waffles. And I said, well, it's in this cookbook. And he said, well, that's what they called them, but they're more like wafers. And so he showed me the wafer maker. And so I thought, oh, shoot, I need these waffles in this scene. So when I got home, I got my edits from my editor, and she caught on and she's like, hey, they didn't have waffles in 1774. And so I said, because Libby is from a future time where she loves waffles, that they actually went to the blacksmith and had him make a waffle maker. So that's how I got away with it.
And in the future, she can see she made that. So yeah. So it's been all of these time, what do you call them? Time travelers?
Time crossing, yeah.
Yeah, these time crossers, that all these strange and wonderful inventions that we have no idea who created them.
Yeah, they're all time crossers.
Yeah.
So Libby's mom in 1774 is a time crosser as well, and she had to choose which time period she wanted to live in. And so at the beginning of the book, you learn that she also lived in the 1990s, and so Libby knows about things in the 1990s that nobody would have known in the 1770s or the 1914 area.
Yeah, that was absolutely fascinating, and readers are going to go nuts over that. And I actually cried about Libby's mom. So I don't know that I could have done what she did, and I'm not going to say what it is because it's a spoiler. So for this month's giveaway, Gabrielle has given us something really fun. Of course, she's going to give her book away, a signed copy of her book, but what else?
Well, when my kids were younger, I used to make jewelry. And so I actually made some fun earrings for this giveaway. I call them my timeless earrings. That's the name of the series.
Oh.
And so these are they're little clocks. Yep. So I have silver, and then I also have some like pewter color. You can see them. So along with the signed copy, I will send a pair of these earrings out to the winner.
So can they choose, or are you just going to send which one?
I'll probably just send whichever one comes out. There's actually probably 30 different versions of that. So there's a lot to choose from. Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be wonderful. And I know some of the gifts, like this one, I would love to stick my name in the cup. And then all of a sudden there's only one in there with my name.
Terri wins again.
What a surprise. So how many viewers, since I can't, how many viewers out there would love to get this giveaway? Well, only one is going to win. However, you can have up to 6 opportunities to enter. And the way to do that is, for this video, if you like and comment, that's an entry. If you share, that's an entry. If you subscribe, and when that little white dingy bell pops up and you click that, you get 2 entries. And then if you hop on over to the blog interview, which the link is down below, and you like and comment, there's another one. And if you subscribe to my newsletter, you'll get 2 free gifts and another entry. And was that 6 or 7?
I'm not sure. I wasn't counting.
6. So somewhere along the way, I might have added one. So if I added one, it's just in your favor. So the drawing will be held Friday, March 13th. So you do have time. And by the way, if you're already a subscriber to my newsletter or to this YouTube channel, don't worry. As long as you comment and like, you also qualify for those extra entries. And also, we have to say that those outside the contiguous U.S. Unfortunately are not eligible for this particular giveaway. So sorry about that, Alaska, Hawaii. Sorry. But you live in Alaska and Hawaii, so that's not bad, right? So, Gabe, do you have any final words that you'd like to share with our viewers?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed our time together. I hope that everyone gets a chance to read When the Day Comes. And if you do, please let me know what you thought of the book. If you'd like, you can contact me through my Facebook page or through my newsletter. I love hearing from readers. It's kind of a lonely job sometimes when you're there by yourself at the computer, but when people reach out and let you know, it makes all the difference. So thank you so much.
It does. And you know what? Reviews are so important for we authors. So leaving those reviews on Amazon or BookBub or Goodreads, Barnes and Noble, christianbook.com, all of those different venues, it really means a lot to us. So be sure and do that as well. Thanks again for watching. This is the 17th episode of Author Highlight and Giveaway. And just a reminder, all the links are down below, both Gabe's websites, my website, and all of our social media links will be down in the description section. And as always, we love likes, follows, and subscribes. Now, next month, the Author Highlight blog and YouTube interview will feature a recent inductee into the Christie Hall of Fame, best-selling and award-winning author, and one of my best friends, Kathy Gulke, will be our featured author. And looking forward to that too. So thanks again so much. God bless and keep
reading. I said that right.
You did. Yay.